Hi, I'm Kitty. We met at a coffee shop. I was ordering a chocolate muffin, don't judge me. It was a hard Tuesday, and he was behind me. He said, "If you take the last muffin, I will cry." I laughed. He didn't cry. He bought me the muffin. And that was it. That was the first page of our book. For 2 years, that book was beautiful. We had chapters called First Kiss in the Rain and that time he cooked eggs and almost burned the kitchen. I still laugh thinking about the smoke alarm. He stood on a chair, waving a towel, and said, "I'm saving you, Kitty." I said, "You're saving me from eggs?" And he said, "From boring eggs." That was Sam. Funny. Warm. Made me feel like I was the only woman in a crowded room. But here's the thing about love. It's not always the big fights that break you. Sometimes it's the small silences, the small fears, the small moments when you look at someone and think, "I love you, but I don't feel safe." Safety. What does that word mean? It doesn't mean a helmet. It doesn't mean a lock on the door. For me, safety meant, I can tell you anything and you won't run away. I can cry in front of you and you won't call me dramatic. I can be messy, broke, tired, angry, and you will still hold my hand. Sam held my hand. Yes, but only when I was happy. When I was sad, he got quiet. When I was scared, he got busy. When I said, "Sam, I think I need help." "I think I'm too sad," he said. "You're not sad, Kitty. You're just tired. Have some tea." And I drank the tea. I drank so much tea. I drank tea for 2 years, pretending it was medicine. I swear, my body is now 70% tea. If you cut me, I would leak chamomile. But tea doesn't fix a broken heart. Tea doesn't listen at 2 a.m. when you're crying because your dog died. Oh, did I tell you about my dog, Mr. Wiggles? He died last year. Sam sent me a text. A text. It said, "Sorry about the dog. Want pizza?" I wanted to throw my phone out the window, but I didn't. Because I loved him. And love makes you stupid. Like, really stupid. Like wearing socks with sandals stupid. Let me tell you the exact day I decided to leave. It was a Tuesday. Again. Tuesdays hate me. I had lost my job 2 weeks before. I didn't tell Sam yet. I was ashamed. I thought if I tell him, he will see me as a failure. So I pretended. Every morning, I put on my work clothes. I took my bag. I sat in the park for 8 hours. I read books. I fed pigeons. I became best friends with an old man named George who also lost his job. George said, "Kitty, you have to tell him. If he loves you, he will stay." That night, I made dinner. Pasta. His favorite. I lit a candle. I wore my nice sweater, the blue one he said made my eyes look like the ocean. He came home. He kissed my head. He sat down. And I said, "Sam, I lost my job." The room got very quiet. He stopped chewing. He looked at his plate. Then he looked at me. And he said, "What did you do?" Not, "Are you okay?" Not, "We'll figure it out." Not, "I love you anyway." What did you do? As if losing a job was a crime. As if I had stolen something. As if I chose to be broke. I said, "The company closed. 50 people lost their jobs." He said, "So you didn't see it coming? You didn't save money." I wanted to scream. But instead, I laughed. Have you ever laughed when you wanted to cry? It's a strange sound. Like a car engine that won't start. I said, "Sam, I have saved money. I have enough for 3 months. I just need you to say, it's okay." He said, "It's not okay. You should have told me earlier." And that was the crack. Not a big break. Not a screaming fight. Just a crack. A small line in the glass of our love. And cracks grow. Trust me. They grow while you sleep. I stayed for 3 more weeks after that night. 3 weeks of pretending. 3 weeks of walking on eggshells. Have you ever walked on eggshells? It's noisy. And messy. And your feet hurt. I started to feel small. Like a mouse. A mouse who loves a cat. A stupid mouse. Every day, I tried to fix myself so he would feel comfortable. I hid my worries. I hid my tears. I laughed at his jokes even when my heart was heavy. I became an actress. The role? Happy Kitty. The pay? Terrible. The emotional reward? 0. One night, I couldn't sleep. It was 3 a.m. Sam was snoring. I looked at his face. He looked peaceful, innocent, like a child. And I thought, he's not a bad man. He's just not a safe man for me. That thought hit me like a pillow. Soft, but shocking. I realized, you can love someone and still not be safe with them. Safety is not about violence. Safety is about feeling seen. And I was invisible. The next morning, I tried one last time. I said, Sam, can we talk? He said, about what? Without looking up from his phone. I said, about us. About me. I'm not happy. He looked up. You're not happy? I bought you flowers yesterday. I said, flowers are nice. But I need you to hear me. He said, I hear you. You're unhappy. What do you want me to do? Quit my job? Dance? Do you want me to dance? I said, I want you to ask me why I'm unhappy. He sighed. That big, heavy sigh that says, you are a problem I have to solve before my coffee. He said, why are you unhappy, Kitty? But his voice was flat, like he was reading a grocery list. Not like a man who loved me. I said, because I feel alone when I'm with you. He laughed. He actually laughed. He said, that doesn't make sense. You're with me. You're not alone. You want me to hold your hand more? Fine. I'll hold your hand. And he grabbed my hand. Hard. Not romantic. Like a handshake. I pulled away. And in that moment, I knew. Leaving someone is not one big action. It's 1,000 small goodbyes. The first goodbye was that morning. I looked at him and thought, I will leave. And that thought stayed with me like a secret. For 2 days, I packed. Not loudly. Not with suitcases and drama. I packed one bag. One small blue bag. Underwear. A toothbrush. My mother's ring. The book George the Pigeon Man gave me. And the bunny slippers. Yes, the slippers. Don't judge me. I wrote a note. Not a long note. A short one. Because long notes are for movies. Real life only has energy for short truths. The note said, Sam, I love you. But I love me more. I'm leaving for safety. Don't look for me. Kitty. I left the note on the fridge under the pizza magnet. Because that felt right. Pizza magnet. Sad note. My kind of humor. I walked out the door at 6 a.m. He was still sleeping. He looked like a baby. A baby who doesn't know how to love a sad woman. I almost stayed. Almost. But then I remembered, staying would mean more tea. More cracks. More invisible nights. So I left. And here is the strange part. The part one did not expect. The first hour after leaving, I felt free. I felt light. I walked to the train station and bought a ticket to my mother's town. I sat on the train and cried, yes. But I also smiled. Because I was not pretending anymore. I thought, Kitty, you did it. You chose yourself. That's brave. But then the second hour came. And the third. And the sun went down. And I realized safety is lonely at first. Very lonely. I arrived at my mother's house at 11 p.m. She opened the door in her nightgown. She looked at my blue bag. She looked at my face. She didn't ask questions. She just said, come in, baby. I'll make tea. And I laughed. Because of course, more tea. But this time, it was different. This time, the tea came with a hug. So now you know the beginning of my leaving. You know the crack. You know the note. You know the train. But the story is not over. Because leaving is just the first step. What comes after? The quiet. The doubt. The phone calls you don't answer. And the moment he shows up at your mother's door. And that, my friend, is where chunk 2 begins. Grab some tea. Your own tea. Not mine. I'm done with sharing tea for today. Hello. It's Kitty again. Still me. Still in my mother's house. Still wearing the bunny slippers. If you remember, I just walked out on Sam. Left him a note on the fridge. Under the pizza magnet. Very dramatic. Very cold pizza. Very sad heart. Now let me tell you what happened next. Because leaving is fast. But healing? Healing is slow. Like watching paint dry. Or watching ice melt. Or waiting for your phone to charge from 1%. Painfully slow. My mother's name is Rose. She is 72 years old. She still thinks bell-bottom jeans will come back. She also thinks that every problem can be solved with soup. Chicken soup. Kitty, you're sad? Soup. Kitty, you lost your job? Soup. Kitty, the world is ending? More soup. I love her. But I was not hungry for soup. I was hungry for silence. The first 3 days at her house, I did nothing. I mean nothing. I slept. I stared at the ceiling. I watched bad TV shows where people yell at each other about cakes. Have you seen those shows? Grown adults crying over sugar. And I thought, at least I'm not crying over cake. I'm crying over a man who didn't hear me. That felt like progress. Small progress. Tiny progress. Like moving 1 grain of sand. But on the 4th day, the guilt came. Loud. Like a doorbell that won't stop ringing. Guilt said, Kitty, you left a good man. He didn't hit you. He didn't cheat. He just didn't ask about your feelings. That's not a crime. And I almost believed the guilt. Almost. I picked up my phone. I opened his name. His contact photo was still us at the beach, smiling, our faces close. I stared at that photo. My finger hovered over the call button. Then I remembered something. Something small. Something I had buried. One time, about 6 months before I left, I had a panic attack. I had never had one before. It happened in the grocery store. Too many lights. Too many people. I couldn't breathe. I ran outside. I called Sam. I was crying. I said, Sam, something is wrong. I can't breathe. He said, did you take your allergy medicine? I said, this isn't allergies. I think I need you to come. He said, I'm in the middle of a game. Can you just sit down for 5 minutes? Drink water. I sat down. I drank water. The panic attack went away after an hour. But something else stayed. A small voice in my head that said, he won't come. He will never come when you are falling. I never told him how much that hurt, because I was afraid. Afraid he would say, you're too much. So I became less. I made myself small so he would stay. And that is the opposite of safety. So I put the phone down. I did not call him. And instead, I called myself. I said out loud to my mother's ceiling, Kitty, you're not too much. You are just enough. And the right man will run to you in the grocery store parking lot. My mother heard me through the wall. She knocked and said, are you talking to the ceiling again? I said, yes, Ma. The ceiling listens better than Sam. She laughed. Then she brought soup. Of course. The second week was harder than the first. Because the first week, I was in shock. Shock is like a blanket. It protects you. But when the blanket comes off, you feel everything. I felt the empty side of the bed. I felt the missing good morning texts. I felt the silence where his laugh used to be. And I started to doubt. Big doubt. Huge doubt. Doubt the size of a cow. I thought, maybe I was too sensitive. Maybe all men are like that. Maybe I should have tried harder. Have you ever had that thought? Maybe it's my fault. That thought is a liar. But it sounds so real. Like a bad friend who pretends to care. I tried to distract myself. I painted my nails. Badly. I looked like a toddler who ate a crayon. I baked cookies. I burned them. The smoke alarm went off. My mother ran in with a broom. She yelled, Kitty, you're going to kill us both. And I laughed so hard I cried. And then I cried so hard I laughed. And then I just cried. Normal Tuesday. On day 15, something happened. I was sitting on the porch, reading a book about a woman who runs away to Italy. Very fancy. Very unrealistic. I don't have Italy money. I have soup money. Then I saw a car. A blue car. Sam's car. Pulling up to my mother's house. My heart stopped. Then it started again too fast. Like a drum in a panic. I stood up. I dropped my book. I thought, oh no. Oh no. Oh no. He got out of the car. He looked tired. His hair was messy. His shirt had a stain. He looked like a man who had not slept. And he looked at me. And for the first time in a long time, he looked scared. He walked to the gate. He didn't come in. He just stood there. And he said, Kitty, can we talk? I wanted to say no. I wanted to run inside. But my feet didn't move. My heart said, listen. Just listen. I said, okay. He said, I found your note. Under the pizza magnet. I said, yeah. I thought the magnet was funny. He smiled. A small smile. Then it went away. He said, I didn't understand what for safety meant. I thought you were in danger. I said I was. He looked confused. From what? From who? I said, from feeling invisible. From being unheard. From loving someone who only wants the happy parts of me. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, I'm not a bad man, Kitty. I said, I never said you were bad. I said you weren't safe for me. There's a difference. He said, I want to be safe. Tell me how. And here is the hard part. The part one didn't expect. Because when someone you love asks, tell me how, a part of you wants to run back. A part of you says, see? He's trying. Go. Hug him. But another part, the part that left the note said, words are easy. Change is hard. And you are tired of teaching a grown man how to love. I said, Sam, I have told you how. For 2 years, I told you. I told you when I cried. I told you when I was scared. I told you when I lost my job. You didn't listen. You gave me tea and told me to calm down. He said, I'm sorry. I said, I know. But sorry is a word. Safety is an action. He started to cry. I had never seen him cry. Not once. Not when his grandmother died. Not when his dog ran away. He was always so together. So in control. But now he was crying on my mother's sidewalk. And I felt bad. Really bad. Because I still loved him. Love doesn't turn off like a light. Love is more like a stove. Even when you turn it off, it stays hot for a long time. He said, come home. I'll change. I'll go to therapy. I'll listen. I swear. I looked at him. A part of me wanted to believe him. The hopeful part. The part that still remembered the chocolate muffin and the rain kiss. But another part, the part that had spent 15 days alone, crying, burning cookies, talking to ceilings, that part whispered, he's only changing because you left. Not because he saw your pain. He saw his loss. That's different. And that whisper was the truth. The hard, ugly, beautiful truth. Because if I come back, you will be good for 2 weeks. Then you will forget. And I will be the one making tea again. And I'm tired of tea. He wiped his face. He said, so that's it? 2 years and that's it? I said, maybe it's not it. Maybe it's not right now. Maybe you need to learn on your own. And I need to heal on my own. And if we find each other again someday when we are both safe, then okay. He looked at the ground. Then he looked at me. And he nodded. A small nod. A nod that said, I hear you. Finally. He got back in his blue car. He drove away. And I stood on the porch in my bunny slippers and I did not cry. Because I had no tears left. Just a quiet feeling. Not happiness. Not sadness. Something in between. Something like peace. 6 months passed. Yes, 6 months. I don't want to rush the story because healing is not fast. But I will tell you the important parts. I got a new job. A small job. At a bookstore. The owner is an old man named Paul. He has a beard and smells like coffee. He pays me to sit and read and help customers find love stories. Ironic, right? The woman who left love helps others find it. I laugh about that sometimes. I also started writing. Not notes on fridges, but letters. Letters to myself. One letter said, Dear Kitty, you are allowed to be sad and happy at the same time. It's not a math problem. It's a heart. I also made a new friend. Her name is Joy. Yes, her real name is Joy. And she is the opposite of her name. She is grumpy and loves to complain. But she is loyal. She says things like, Kitty, if that man calls you again, I will key his car. I say, Joy, no keying cars. She says, fine. I'll just send him a glitter bomb. I love her. 3 months after the porch conversation, Sam sent me a letter. A real letter. With a stamp. Not a text. Inside, he wrote, Kitty, I started therapy. I'm going every week. I learned that I was afraid of feelings. My dad never cried. I thought strong men don't feel. I was wrong. I am learning to listen. Not to fix. Just to listen. I don't expect you to come back. But I wanted you to know. You made me see myself. Thank you, Sam. I read that letter 7 times. Then I put it in a drawer. Not to forget. but to wait. Because waiting is also an action. Now you're asking, Kitty, did you go back? Did you give him a second chance? Is this a happy ending or a sad ending? Here is my answer. And it is simple. I did not go back. Not yet. Not because I don't love him, but because I love my peace more. Safety is not a person. Safety is a feeling. And I finally feel safe inside my own skin. Inside my own little room. Inside my own bunny slippers. But I also did not close the door. I left it open. Just a crack. Not a crack like before, the painful kind. A different crack. A crack of possibility. Sam and I text sometimes. Small things. How was your day? Did you eat? I saw a dog that looked like Mr. Wiggles. Friendly. Gentle. Slow. Maybe one day when we have both grown. When he has listened for a year. When I have healed for a year. Maybe we will sit across from each other in that coffee shop. And I will let him buy me a chocolate muffin. And maybe this time he will ask, "How are you really?" And I will tell him the truth. And he will sit and listen. So here is what I learned. And I want you to learn it too, without having to burn your cookies or leave a note under a pizza magnet. Love is not enough. You can love someone with your whole heart and still not be safe. Safety is not locks. Safety is, can you cry without being told to calm down? Can you be scared without being called dramatic? Can you lose a job and still feel like you matter? If the answer is no, then you are not in love. You are in a classroom, teaching, begging, shrinking, and you are not a teacher. You are a woman, a man, a human. You deserve to be seen, not fixed, not handled, not managed, just seen. Also, invest in good slippers, because whether you stay or leave, your feet will be cold, and cold feet make everything worse. I'm Kitty. I left him for safety, and I don't regret it. I miss him. Yes. I cry sometimes. Yes. But I also sleep through the night now. I also laugh at my own jokes. I also look in the mirror and see a woman who chose herself. And that woman, she is not lonely. She is learning. And learning is another word for healing. So if you are thinking of leaving someone who doesn't make you feel safe, do it. Not with anger. Not with revenge. Just with a note. And a pizza magnet. And a small blue bag. And remember, you are not leaving love. You are leaving fear dressed up as love. One day, the right love will find you. Or you will find it. And it will not ask you to be less. It will ask you to be more. And you will be ready. Because you practiced. On yourself. Thank you for listening to my story. Now go drink some tea. But only if you want to. Not because someone told you to calm down.